Good morning. Welcome to the tip of the day. I'm Dr. Amy Starr with the Mesa Veterinary Clinic, Paws-N-Hooves Mobile Veterinary Services, and San Francisco Stables. We're helping El Paso help their pets. So during this time of social isolation and home quarantine, I wanted to bring up some activities that you could do to ease some of your boredom as well as your pet's boredom. And so right now, with everybody needing to stay in home more and find activities, we're seeing that we can get bored, and addictions are becoming more prevalent. Addictions to binge watching TV or alcoholism or other substance abuse, eating, things like that are becoming more prevalent because people are bored. And so if we think about it, pets, mainly dogs, but all pets, have the exact same trouble and situation when they're left for hours alone in a cage or hours alone outside in the yard by themselves, without things to do, a job, an activity, other pets to play with, etc. And so we can easily see how this can cause a lot of behavior issues. I had a client come in just this week stating that her dogs are great, she doesn't have a problem with them, but the neighbor constantly complains because they bark all day long. Well, barking is a sign of stress and anxiety, and they're barking all day long. That incessant, nonstop barking is because of stress and anxiety, and because they're bored. They don't know what to do, and they're stuck in this area, and they can't get out and sniff. They can't get out and see what's going on, and excuse me. And so that's just one of the many behavior problems: digging, jumping the fence, fighting, all sorts of issues like that. Sorry, it's allergy season. My allergies are really flaring up. And so we can do things to help minimize that. And at the same time, while we're in quarantine, it'll give us something to do. So to try and eliminate or reduce some of the common addictions and issues that we have when we become bored, it's good to be productive. Find projects, do those projects. And some of these projects can be with or for your pet. And so I have a lot of different information here from a lady that I know, and she has a Facebook page called Canine Enrichment. And so if you go to her Facebook page, you can find other suggestions as well. I'm just going to go over the main ones that we think of. And so when we think of enrichment, we typically hear enrichment with zoo animals, right? Well, because, they're used to being out on the savannah or in the jungles or in the desert or wherever, roaming on their own, trying to find food, so interacting socially, hunting, things like that. But the exact same thing happens, and again, I'm going to mainly talk about dogs today, but cats, ferrets, other animals are just as prone to this. I have set enrichment and activity times with my ferret, etc., things like that. So I'm going to mainly talk about dogs because that's the easiest and that's what most people have, but you can relay this to any of your animals, even changing habitats of some of your caged animals and things like that. So when we think about enrichment, we think about 5 categories. There's the social category where we think about, needing to be with different groups of the same species. So having multiple dogs and, or having play dates with dogs, things like that. We typically go to the dog park. We can't really do that right now. So if you have other pets that they can socialize, then that's a good thing. Other animals. So socializing your dogs when they're young to animals such as cats and birds and horses and goats and sheep and things like that is very beneficial so that they don't have issues with them later on. Socializing them with people, making sure that, again, when they're young, dogs learn specifically to be fearful and learn fear aggression around the age of 4 months. And so that's also the time where we're isolating them because we don't want them to get parvo. And so, you know, having people come over, multiple people come over, or taking them to places that you know is safe. Your friend who's lived in their house for 10 years and has never had parvo and has fully vaccinated pets, things like that. And then anything else, like different types of environments, different, you know, walking in different areas, a mirror, you know, different types of toys, things like that. That's all what we consider social enrichment. Again, this is just in general. I'll get to what we can do now while we have isolation. And then we have cognitive, so the brain, thinking. So mental stimulation. So this is puzzle feeders, training sessions, agility training, search and find training, things like that, and novel experiences. So unusual food items that they haven't had before, novel toys that they haven't experienced before, unusual scents. Dogs are meant to smell. They're meant to mark, they're meant to smell. And what do we do as humans if we do happen to take our dogs out for a walk? Lucky dog. Then as soon as they stop to sniff, we pull them and drag them behind us because we have an agenda. Well, their agenda is to sniff. They want to figure out what's going on. That's why we have working dogs. And so for my pets, we have 2 different types of walks, and they know what they're going on. They either have a free roam where 2 of them can be off leash, 1 cannot, but she's on an extendable, retractable, very long leash, and they're allowed to sniff and do whatever, and the walk is for them. We have the other type of walk where the walk is for me, or jog is for me, and they have to stay at a heel. And they know that, and they stay, you know, right with me. And so, you know, things like that, giving different types of scents and stuff is all for the cognitive. And then we have the physical habitat. So for some of your climbers, like your cats and things like that, some of your small rodents and things, having perches, having climbing things. You know, I have an outdoor catio for my cats where I have different perches and ramps and stuff like that. Some catnip in there that I grew and things like that. Resting spots in different areas so you don't get stressed between in multi-cat houses, different textures, diameters, motion things, all of that. Substrates, different types of substrates, shape, water, sand, you know, things. Nest in a den. Crate training is very beneficial for your dogs especially. And even your cats. If you have a cat, one of the fear-free things so that they are not so afraid to come to the vet is leave a kennel out. Put something comfortable in there for them. Put some Febreze, or sorry, not Febreze, some of the pheromones, and maybe an old t-shirt of yours, cover it up, make it like a little den so that they like to stay in there. Cats love little cubbies and hiding places, and dogs love dens as well. And so crate training them is very beneficial. It helps to keep them safe if you're not at home, and it also helps to keep all of your furniture and walls and everything safe. But also, if you think about it, dogs, you know, originally came from coyotes and wolves and foxes and things like that, and they live in dens. That's a safe place for them. And so one of my rescues, she absolutely loves her kennel. And so whenever she feels stressed or tired or just wants to relax or chew on her toy or whatever, she goes to her cage, and that's a very beneficial thing. So you can make a variety of different dens out there. There's tons of YouTube things on how to make little cubbies for your cats and dens and different things. Ferrets love to, you know, ferret into things, so you can make things like that as well. All these things that you can make on your own while you're in quarantine. So it's something you're doing for your pet, even maybe with your pet, have them sniff and check out the different things that you're putting together and stuff. The refuge, like I talked about, having a kennel or a crate or a special room where they can go in when it gets too much for them. And then climate gradients, you know, making sure that there's different light and temperature and humidity and wind. So outside, inside, you know, different things like that. So that's all physical habitat. Sensory habitat. So again, we're talking about the 5 enrichment categories. Tactile, so again, maybe a brush board or a substrate pile or some fleece things or different things like that. There's a snuffle rug that I'll discuss, and unfortunately I couldn't find mine right now. I moved a little while back and had it for a particular pet, and I can't find it right now for this video, but anyways, I'll talk about it. So snuffle rugs are great. Olfactory and taste, so packaged scent, natural scent, putting things in, burying things with different scents that they have to find. Auditory, vocalization, white noise, so maybe some calming music, classical music, the TV, things like that. Noisemakers, bells, xylophones, things like that that they have to kind of listen and figure out. And then visual, sight of prey, mirror, moving toys, again, the TV, all those things can be a sensory category or sensory enrichment. And then food, obviously, most pets are driven by food. And so having novel food items, maybe frozen broth popsicles, or I'll show you a way to make Kong stuffers out of different foods and stuff like that. The spray cheese, little treats, healthy things, not high fat, not high preservatives would be good if you can. And then food presentation is also enrichment, dealing with food. You can make puzzle feeders, scatter the food around, hide or bury it, do little treasure hunt things. So all of those are the 5 enrichment categories that you can try and think of as you're trying to develop something for your pets during this time of isolation. And hopefully this will outlast this, and you can get more creative and spend some enjoyable time creating some of these things. And they'll get destroyed and they'll get torn up, and you'll need to create more. So that's kind of fun for us. And then it's fun for your pet to have all these different new novel things, because they're constantly in isolation. If they're not directly with us, we are their pack. We are their family. If they're not directly with us, if we're not actively doing something with them, then they can get bored and they can feel isolated and lonely as well. And so we want to decrease addiction. So just like there is food addiction in humans, there can be digging addiction in dogs, or there's substance addiction in humans. There can be barking, incessantly in dogs, or fighting in dogs or cats. Marking is a big stress of cats. They can mark around the house, and that's a sign of stress. So there's a lot of these different things that we don't really think about that much, but if we put ourselves in the pet situation, which we can easily do now because we definitely understand it, then we can help to make their lives fuller and more enjoyable, and at the same time help to ease some of our isolation during this quarantine time. So why do dogs need enrichment? I just discussed a lot about it, but if you kind of go back a little bit, 40, 50, 60 years ago, dogs were not kept inside the house. They weren't kept in cages. They weren't kept in a strict yard. They were farm animals. They were working animals. They roamed the streets during the day. They knew how to socialize. They didn't have big fights. When I go to Peru and Ecuador and Thailand and places like this that I commonly go to, or that I have frequently gone to do charity events, it is amazing to me the number of dogs on the street. In Rome, it's the number of cats. But anyways, the number of dogs, again, because we're talking mostly about dogs right now, in the streets is incredible. And you don't see anybody fighting. Nobody's attacking. Not one dog is attacking a human. There are rarely, if ever, any dog fights, because they grow up on the streets. They grow up socializing, seeing humans. They're super streetwise. They know to stop when the light is red and wait and watch the people. And then as soon as the people go, obviously they don't know if the light is green, but they watch the people in the cars. Then as soon as the people go, then they start to walk. It's fascinating to watch. And so again, if we think about our own country and our own times, you know, way back, the dogs were working dogs. They were out on the farm. I you know, lived on farms before coming to El Paso. My dogs were never in a yard. Even when I came to El Paso, I lived on an 1.5 acres my first several years, and we didn't have our place fenced, and the dogs never left because they had plenty to do. There was work. We were outside, you know, doing stuff with them. And so now that they're stuck inside, that's when enrichment becomes important. That's when socialization and teaching dogs how to socialize with humans and other animals becomes important, because we've denied them that. And so, you know, again, just because we've changed their lifestyle doesn't mean that we've changed their breeding, and they still have those instincts. So we can do lots of different enrichments that I'm going to get into now. So all of these kind of take the 5 categories and mix them up. There's not anything that's exclusive to a category. So I'm just going to list some things. YouTube them, Google them, go on the Canine Enrichment Facebook page or group, and have some fun and get investigative and find how to do these on your own. And a lot of these will help with some of the social, or with some of the behavior issues that you're seeing, and will help you again while you're in this quarantine time, isolation time. So as far as feeding your dogs, it's always best to feed them at an exact time, twice a day, so that they know what to expect. But it's good to change it up. You are the master, you are the alpha. You are the one that is supplying the food. So put the food in different places, hide it, wrap it in a towel if your dog's not going to destroy the towel and swallow it and get a foreign body obstruction. You can use it for training. You can take them on a walk, and every time they do something good, give them a little kibble of their normal food. That way they're not becoming overweight by all your training. You can scatter it in a little trail and then have something at the end. You can hide it around the yard. You can make a sandbox and hide toys stuffed with food things down deep in the sand if they're ones that like to dig, and then refill the sandbox and put different toys in there every day. Change it up. They'll get bored if they have the same toys. So have a whole group of toys, put 3/4 of them in a box in storage, not too stored away, but you know, in a little box in your garage or something, and then change them out. Maybe have 3 different groups or 4 different groups, and one day you hide these ones and you stuff them with different treats, and then another day you put those away and you bring out the next group and you stuff them with different treats. So a sandbox is awesome. Hiding them you know, around the yard or around the house, doing the trail, putting them in things. You can freeze them in blocks of ice that they have to try and figure out. The snuffle rug is a great thing, and it was for my pit, 95-pound pit, and she would destroy anything. She destroyed my walls, my couches, my table, and for some reason she never destroyed the snuffle rug, and that's what a lot of people say they don't. So you take strips of fleece and you weave it in and out to make this square little like 1 by 1, you know, 1 foot by 1 foot, or if you want to make it a little bit bigger, you can, little rug that has all of these little fringes of fleece, and then you hide their food. It doesn't have to be treats. It can be treats if you want, and you can change it up and have different types of treats, again, so they don't get bored. But if you don't want them getting overweight and you want to, you know, maybe you have to run off to work, maybe you do work right now, or you need to spend some time on the computer and they're going to be by themselves, do it as their morning breakfast. Hide those in between all of that, and it'll take them an hour to figure out how to get out all of the little food pieces. It's great fun for them. They're using their sniffer. It's a scent, it's tactile, it's mental, so cognitive, it's physical, it's involving all of those. So the snuffle rug is great. You can also do something similar to this one. Sorry, the light is... where you have one of these little rubber balls. Again, make sure that you dog proof it first. Watch the dog with it in the beginning to make sure that they're not going to destroy it. And then stuff it with these little fleeces and put little toys in there. So they have to pull out the fleeces to find, little pieces of food in there. So they have to pull out the fleeces to get to the food. You can make a sandbox and hide toys that have different treats in there. You can do egg cartons and then wrap a little kernel of food with some newspaper or preferably some wrapping paper that doesn't have ink on it, so it's not toxic or anything, but wrap all that and then put that in the little egg box, and then put the egg box, close the egg box. And if you have a dog that really loves to destroy, my pit bull loved boxes. She loved boxes. So I would do that, and then I would put it in a box. I would put that box in another box, and I'd put a couple of kernels of food inside, loose in each box, and I had like 5 boxes together, and she would spend hours on that. She loved it. So that's a fun thing to do. You can stuff Kongs. So make sure the Kong is size appropriate and density appropriate to your pet. If you have a puppy, or if you have a tiny dog, make sure it's a small Kong. If you have a 95-pound pit bull that can destroy anything, make sure it's a Kong meant for that. So obviously you can stuff Kongs with Cheese Whiz, with peanut butter. Make sure the peanut butter does not have xylitol in it. So no sugar-free peanut butter. Peanut butter, you can freeze things inside of Kongs. Or you can do this awesome thing where you put a bunch of the regular dog food in a Tupperware, and then pour water in it and let it soak for about 30 minutes or so. So the water, the kernels of the kibble gets engorged, and so it fills up and it's soft and soaked. And so once you've soaked it for 30 minutes, it's gonna spread out and take up all that space. And then you can boil some chicken if you want, just no bone, no skin, just boil the chicken, and some green beans and carrots if you like. And you can mix that all in, so you have this little stew. And then because it's all boiled, it's all soft, and so you mush it together and make little balls with your hand, and you can freeze those balls and hide them in the sandbox or wherever you want to hide them around the house. Or you can stuff the Kong with them, and this is a great thing because it is hard to, for the dog with their tongue to get that stuff out of the Kong. You can make little things like this for your cats or your ferret, different things like that. You can do frozen fruit for your rodents. Where they have to kind of try and get it and put those in boxes. Rodents love to chew cardboard and wood and stuff, so you can hide things in there. That's a great thing. So anyways, be creative. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do. Have treasure hunts around the house with your pet's favorite toys or your pet's favorite treats, and have some fun with it. Do some research. This will take you some hours. You can build a sandbox. You can build a den. You can build some little cat cubbies or ramps, or all of the things that the Jackson guy, that's the cat guy, talks about. Those are a lot of home projects that you can do right now to keep yourself sane, so you don't get lonely and addictions and feel so isolated, and to interact and have fun with your pet. So please remember to stay safe and enjoy this time with your pet. If you are sick, if you have any upper respiratory, do not snuggle and kiss your pets. Keep them separate. We don't know yet if this will potentially spread to animals, and you don't want to take that risk. You want to keep your whole family safe. So if you are sick, have somebody else take care of the pets. Otherwise, have fun, do lots of, create an agility course in your backyard for your dogs and teach them agility. You can find so many things on YouTube right now. So have fun. Hope everybody has a great day, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.